All right, guys, so these are going to be the answers for the practice problems that I put up online today. Please actually solve the problems for yourself before you come and watch this video, otherwise it's not going to be very helpful for you. So you're going to need to do 3 different things on the quiz. The first one is going to be label the inside and outside of the cell with the appropriate tonicity, hypotonic, hypertonic, and isotonic. My academic kids, you will have these there. My honors kids, you will just be given appropriate tonicity, and I'm going to expect you to know what the 3 tonicities are. Getting the inside will be 1 point, and the outside will be 1 point, so you'll have 2 possible points for that question. Indicating the direction of osmosis in blue will be 1 point. And indicating the direction of diffusion in red will be 1 point. So you'll have 4 different points for each one of these questions. So the first thing that you need to do is go ahead and label it either hypotonic, hypertonic, or isotonic. And remember, you have to compare both the inside and the outside of the cell to do this. So as a really quick definition, hypertonic, let's make that a little bit bigger. There we go. Hypertonic is when there is more solute and less water. And hypotonic is less solute and more water. And then, of course, isotonic is the same amount, spell that right, of water and solute inside and outside of the cell. So when we're looking at this one, the first thing that we're going to look at is which one has more solute. Well, we can see that 20% is greater than 10%, so this one must be hypertonic, because 20% is greater than 10%. And of course, if the inside is hypertonic, the outside must be hypotonic. You cannot have a part of your cell be hypertonic without the outside being hypotonic, and vice versa. The only time that they're going to be the same inside and outside is if it is isotonic. So now we need to move on to indicating the directions of osmosis. Now for osmosis, you have to remember that osmosis is the movement of water. So it's the movement of water, so we need to look at where the high concentration of water is. Remember, since this is passive transport, it has to move from high to low. So we can see here that the high water concentration is on the outside. So we're going to take our blue arrow, we're going to spin it around. And we can see that osmosis moves water from the outside to the inside. So now looking at diffusion, diffusion is the movement of, over here, movement of molecules. Pretty much anything that isn't going to be water moves through diffusion. So we now look at the direction of the solute. So the solute, 20% is going to be greater than 10%. So we are going to move this out of the cell for diffusion. So a couple quick notes on this before we move on to our next practice problem. Just didn't mess up anything down here. Make this smaller. Osmosis moves from hypotonic to hypertonic, always, which means that diffusion moves from hypertonic to hypotonic. Hypotonic, sorry. If this is the easiest for you to remember, go ahead, do that. I personally have a hard time remembering this, so I just remember that I'm always moving from high concentration to low concentration for both of them. So that's going to be our first practice problem. Our second one we'll go through a little bit quicker because we won't need to take notes or label things as much. So here we're looking at which has more solute than the other. We can see that the outside here has more solute, which would make this hypertonic. And of course, because the outside is hypertonic, the inside must be hypotonic. Now remember, osmosis is the movement of water from high concentration of water to low concentration of water. So we're going to take our osmosis arrow and we're going to flip it around. Because 60% water is a higher concentration than 45% water. And looking at this, we can see that our diffusion is going to move in exactly the opposite direction, and it's going to go from 55% solute, which is higher than the inside solute, which is only 40%. Again, diffusion is moving from hypertonic to hypotonic, and osmosis is moving from hypotonic to hypertonic. So that's that one. Our next one's going to be a little bit more difficult. Let's go ahead and get back our thing. Okay. This one's going to be a little bit stranger because this one is exactly the same on the inside and the outside. So instead of it being hypertonic and hypotonic, both of these are isotonic because they're the same both inside and outside. So here, we're not going to have water just moving into the cell or just out of the cell. It's actually going to move both inside and outside the cell. So we will copy this, paste it. Because molecules never stop moving, it's going to always have this movement in and out, even when it's isotonic. And of course, diffusion is going to do exactly the same thing with it moving into and out of the cell. On these problems, it's important for you to draw both inside and outside for both osmosis and diffusion. Now, last one I want to do, we look at which one has the higher concentration of water or the highest concentration of solute. We can see that the outside has a lesser solute, so this is hypotonic, because 35% is less than 75%, which makes this hypotonic. And so that makes the inside hypertonic. Water, of course, moves from hypo to hyper, so moving from that 65% water into the 25% water. And diffusion moves the opposite way, hyper to hypotonic. 75% is greater than 35%. Please let me know if you have any questions on these. These are going to be a bulk of your of your test problems on the your quiz problems, sorry, on the test. Make sure you know how to do these. There's going to be 4 of these, so that's a total of 20 points right there. Please also remember that there are 5 multiple choice questions on homeostasis, 5 multiple choice questions on osmosis and diffusion, as well as active transport, so make sure you study active transport as well. And then there's going to be 5 multiple choice questions on cell parts and functions. So make sure that you are studying for that. I will be online until 3 o'clock, so it's another hour. Make sure if you have any questions to let me know. Thanks. Bye, guys.